everybody. It's Abby Glassenberg at Craft Industry Alliance. I hope you are having a fabulous day today. We are here every Wednesday for our member spotlight, which is an opportunity for us to drop in on a Craft Industry Alliance member, talk to them a little bit about their practice, their creative journey, maybe see a few samples or a little quick studio tour, whatever they want to show us. This week we're really excited to be hosting Krista West. Krista has a really beautiful business. She's got a very interesting story as well, so I'm excited for her to be joining us and telling us a little bit more about her in just a few minutes. Oh, I think I see a request. Yep. Able to pop in just a moment and talk to us. Krista was actually at H&H Americas over the summer last June, and what was great about that was we were able to meet in person. So I already know Krista. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good. So nice to see your smiling face again, and I love all of your materials and your background. I could tell that you're in some portion of your studio. So Krista, tell us a little bit about your business because it's super unique and very beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So I'm the designer and owner of Avlea Folk Embroidery, and I started out by designing cross-stitch kits in the traditional Mediterranean style. And that means specialty fabrics that we import from Greece that are really different than what most people have seen for cross-stitch. So whereas most people have seen Aida cloth, we import Mikini and Archivito and traditional ground cloths that mimic the hand-woven cloths. They're modern reproductions of the historic cloths that would have been used dating back hundreds and hundreds of years in Greece. And I got into this because my primary business is I have actually been a custom ecclesiastical tailor for almost 30 years. So I've worked with Greek Orthodox communities actually all around the world. That's what a lot of what you're seeing behind me. And so it was kind of a natural outgrowth. I was actually in Athens on a buying trip, and my mill agent saw me embroidering and was like, "Do you like that?" And I'm like, "I love embroidery." And he took me to the shops and really introduced me to the traditional folk embroidery, which is so different. And I thought for a long time, like it was just me. I was the person who really loved it. It's very geometric. It's got you could almost call it a very hot color palette. Not a lot of shading. There's a lot of very bright colors, bright corals, grass greens, tealy blues, golds, that sort of a thing. And I just fell in love. I just fell in off the deep end and just fell in love with it. I started with 3 designs in late 2017. And then I got a spot at a trade show in 2018. And that's kind of where we got discovered.
Wow, that's great. So this was like a traditional type of embroidery that you are translating essentially for like the sort of craft consumer.
That's exactly what it is. I love that. I definitely see my role as being a translator. So it's a little different for me as a designer than it is for a lot of designers who are just coming up with something kind of from scratch. I have been my entire career as a tailor. I have worked under sort of the Byzantine approach to artistry and craftsmanship, which is that you're a link in a chain. So basically you are building off of the previous generation and moving it forward to the next generation. And so I'm used to working within a lot of like structure and rules that sort of regard like how we do things. And so I've just sort of translated those skills to folk embroidery because I realized so many people in the United States have never even seen folk embroidery. And we're seeing a huge uptick in people who have never cross-stitched, never embroidered, that are just completely embracing it, because a lot of the traditional cross-stitch that you can find in the United States, it just wasn't their jam. They wanted something, that wasn't sentimental, wasn't holiday themed, and everything we do is very seasonless, and it's practical. So like a lot of what I'm producing, a lot of my kits and designs, it's meant to be cushion covers. It's meant to be table runners, little table mats, because in Greece, they sort of have a feeling that like no table should go uncovered. Like every table must have a covering of some kind, preferably hand embroidered. So that's a lot of the appeal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that anybody who's embroidered or done cross stitch can relate to the feeling that you work forever on this one piece. And then in the end, what do you do with it? And you're like, well, I take it out of the hoop and then I put it in a drawer. or something. Like, where does it
Exactly.
go? And so it's really, I mean, one of the things that I personally find so satisfying about craft is that you can make something useful. Not all craft, but like a lot of craft, right? You can really
Exactly.
make something that you're actually going to use day to day or a special occasion. And that utility is like satisfying, you know?
I'm like here, I'm sitting here going like, preach it, sister. Yes, because I feel like part of what makes craft inaccessible to people is the fact that they don't know what to do with it when they're done. And that's why I think the knitting trend is so big. You know, people can make a sweater or a scarf or a hat, and you are wearing it or you're giving away a practical item. And it's such an antidote to kind of modern consumerist culture in which everything is mass produced. Everything is just, there's no distinction there. And so I really work with, like, a lot of my customers in the early days were like, oh my God, I cannot put this on a table. And I'm like, you know what? I spent 9 months making a huge 3-foot by 3-foot embroidery years ago, and I put it out at Christmas, and my son-in-law actually spilled a little coffee on it. And I was like, at first I was horrified, but you know what's funny is every time I bring that out now, I think of my son-in-law. Like every time I set up my Christmas decorations, I'm like, oh, there's where Lucas spilled the coffee. And it's not like a bad memory. It's that this thing is actually being used and
Right.
seen and appreciated by my family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, for sure. So one thing I wanted to speak with you specifically about is where we met in person, which was at H&H last year. And you talk first, I guess, about that first trade show, because it sounds like you did a trade show that really helped you to kind of break into the market. So talk about that experience, and then we'll get to sort of the H&H piece.
Okay. So my first trade show experience, well, I have been doing trade shows for years with my custom tailoring business. So I was no newbie to trade shows in general. Like, I'm used to the packing list and the preparation and all that kind of stuff and how to choose what to display. When I began Avlea, I had never had to market. I'm in the very enviable position with my tailoring. I'm one of the only people in the United States that does what I do. So like, I just show up at a trade show and people order. So it's kind of like the business comes to me. I've literally never had to advertise for that business. But with Avlea, it's very different. It's actually one of the things I like about it is I'm having to figure this all out and kind of learn about it. So the very first thing I did is I went and displayed at the Nashville Needlework Market. And I did that for 2 years, and I displayed there for 2 years. I tried to display in 2020, but they were displaying patterns, as many people know, with Confederate flag designs, and I just wasn't okay with that as a person and as a business. I didn't want that to be Avlea to be associated with that, so I stopped displaying there. And with that, I was looking around and saying, well, where else could I display? And that's when I heard about the H&H America show from, I know who I heard about it from, Susan Fitzgerald, the owner of Stitched Modern, is the one who actually recommended it. And I was like, oh, this might be even more perfect for us because we don't necessarily fit just in a cross-stitch shop. And I have a lot of yarn stores that buy my kits because everything's like included. The kit is like, basically it's all ready to go. So they don't have to stock fabrics and flosses and things like that. It's just like one and done. And a lot of yarn stores are places where they're in places where there is not enough population density for both a yarn store and an embroidery store. So they're kind of a one-stop shopping experience. And so I was like, well, okay, so I would say that like I was one of the only, if not the only company, well, no, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 other companies selling cross-stitch kits, but nothing really kind of commensurate with what I'm doing. A lot of the other kits were like very easy beginner kits, which are great. Those are great. Those get people started. So I was really looking for that bigger venue that H&H offered because I just wanted to see, could I make it there? Like, would it be worth it? And I knew from previous trade shows that I had done for my tailoring business that like sometimes it takes up to a year. So it's after the show to really determine if that show was worthwhile. And I'm at we're at the 7 or 8 month mark, and that show is very worthwhile. H&H was very worthwhile, but I will tell you, I left H&H feeling a smidge discouraged on the shop front. I left thinking, wow, I didn't really get that many orders. But what happened is I went home and like my fair orders were coming in, and I did a partnership with Yarnier subscription boxes. And then Hirschner's just picked up my line. So 8 months now later, it was very valuable for me to go, and it was the kind of visibility I was hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's really an interesting perspective because trade shows, you know, there's the immediate, I'm sitting in my booth, people come in, they place an order, success, right? And you can kind of feel
Mm-hmm.
like, well, that's what I'm going for. And it is
Right.
for sure. And I hope that as you come back in years to come, you'll have more of that for
Yeah.
sure. Because that's certainly something that we all aim for. But at the same time, there's also this longer term return on investment that sometimes can take a year, as you said, for it to, you met somebody, you spoke with them, they're
Mm-hmm.
thinking about it. Sometimes big companies have to work things into a budget for the year to come. There's all kinds of decisions that take
Yeah.
place that may not happen on the show floor, but do happen in, months or even a year to come after
And
the show.
that was very true. Like, for example, the buyers for Hirschner's came by my booth and we're like, okay, they came by at first, and I was like, I didn't think they were that interested. They came by the next day, like, we're actually very interested, and like, can we kind of talk about this? And like, so we chatted about it, and then I heard nothing from them until October, because I hadn't realized, like, they've got to work everything into their catalog,
Right.
schedule. So their buying schedule is all like according to their catalogs. Yeah, I mean, the one really big win that really left me feeling super excited was on the very last day, in the last 30 minutes of the show, while everyone is breaking down, Vicky Howell came walking down the aisle, and I had seen her at the presentation where there were like 4 people.
Yeah, the State of the Industry panel. Yeah.
Exactly. She was in the panel. And I was so impressed by how positive she was about crafts, and it's totally echoed what I've been seeing and my own experience. So I just went up to her. I mean, she's yarn. I'm thinking, she's yarn, I'm cross stitch. I went up to her and was like, hey, I just had to tell you, I really appreciated your positive mood. Loved it. Great. Terrific. She turned around, she goes, who are you? And I said, oh, well, I'm just, the little cross stitch company back here. She's like, we're looking for a mini kit. Can you do it? Can you have me at like so many by the end of July? And I'm like, we're going to make that happen. We'll find a way. So I hired my 12-year-old daughter and her 2 friends, and we like made kits for like an entire week in the middle of July. But that was like fantastic. And that was something that would have never happened. There was no way she would have ever discovered me or me discovered her without that real-time location of like H&H. And that went on. Another a quilt subscription company reached out to me because they had heard about the Yarn-Yay deal. They're like, well, can you do this for us? It was much fewer kits, but still a very respectable wholesale order. So it's just kind of keep
another
leading. Yeah. And I think also too, all of these, where I'm at with Avlea, as much as possible, I try to say yes. I don't say yes to everything. But like for example, I'm not saying yes to like video content teaching or things like that right now, because we have how-to videos and stuff like that. So I do have to be really intentional about my time. But in terms of these sorts of partnerships, I'm like, yeah, let's just say yes. Let's figure it out, because I'm learning so much. Like, it had never occurred to me to make a mini bookmark kit until Yarn-Yay came to me. And I'm like, oh, that's so easy. And there are so many folk embroidery borders. That's the sort of thing we can easily put together for a shop as an exclusive. And so I feel like I grew from these experiences too, both, creatively, but also like what I could do with my business. It definitely, my own concept grew.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're seeing your product line through somebody else's eyes. So this is what they're seeing with their business in mind of what would work. And sometimes it's something you never thought of and actually works for you too. So it's really great. And when you go to other companies, you have a wider range of things to pitch, or just a wider sort of understanding of what might work. So absolutely, each and every one of these experiences is valuable. Even if sometimes they're not successful, they're still valuable in some way. So that's fabulous. And can you show us, I'm assuming, I know you showed one quick quilt.
I've got a few things here. So I do both cross stitch and embroidery hoop kits, because I had so many people buy my cross stitch kits, and then they came to me and said, can you please do a high quality hoop kit? And since I've worked with Robert Kaufman for almost 30 years, I have a rep there, and they're doing all my digital printing of my fabric. We were able to produce a really high quality hoop kit on Kona cotton. So those are all, so my line of hoop kits is all inspired by historic decorative art. So all of this comes out of some sort of like museum piece or historic art or something like that. This is actually, this one's one of my favorites. This is one that's from a brass tray I bought at a flea market in Thessaloniki on one of my trips. So that's a design. And then we also do a lot of counted thread cross stitch. So we do little small kits. These are all with fabrics that are imported from Greece. This is a little like Ukrainian design. So I do Greek, Ukrainian, Baltic, Balkans. Romanian.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually inspired by the ceiling of the Galla Placidia Mausoleum in Italy.
I love that.
This is one actually out of a historic Latvian needlework booklet. Then let's see. Then we also do bigger pieces. Oh, I should mention too, our hoop kits, we just started releasing them as a cushion kit. So basically the hoop kit design is printed on Kaufman's Essex linen with a cotton linen blend. And so we just had Kaufman print the design larger. And so we sell the cushion kit where the design's stamped on the fabric. And then we also sell a backing kit. So basically you can make a whole pillow. Again, something useful, because so many people have done this sort of a thing, and these are great, but I wanted something more useful. So we just released 4 designs in this. We've got 4 at the website. And then like and then we also do a lot of squares and like things like table runners, squares. This is a new bread cloth that we just released. Again, very practical. But I also do a lot of very historic squares. This is a design we haven't released yet, but it's really beautiful, so I thought I'd show it to you.
Oh,
so that one's actually like it's just gorgeous. I mean, when you really see too, it is,
but it also feels modern.
Yeah. So when you see these designs, a lot of the geometry of historic folk embroidery like looks totally, you know, of the minute in any like modern house. So that's a lot. So we do a lot of things like table squares that people put on their buffet or on their dining room table or a table runner. I do tons of table runners. I had no idea that nobody was really doing table runners, and they're everywhere in Greece. Like in Greece, you can't go into anybody's house without seeing a table runner. And sometimes they're like larger versions of this where it's like a total all over geometric design. And then sometimes they're like border designs like that. So that's like one of my kits that got picked up by Hirschner's was my most popular table runner kit. Because again, people want to make something they can use.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are selling both direct to consumer, correct, on your website.
Yes.
So if I want to go on there right now and get a kit
oh gosh,
myself,
yes, please. If anybody wants to go to the website, it's avleaembroidery.com. www.avleaembroidery.com. You are welcome to buy at the website. That is lovely. But I am using wholesaling as a marketing funnel.
Okay.
So as a way to grow my business, because advertising, I mean, I'm a small business. And advertising is expensive. And I realized that actually wholesale, at least you're like breaking even, you know, at least you're not having to shell out a ton of money.
Think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm doing. But I'm also part of it, actually the big part of it is that I just love folk embroidery. I love folk embroidery. I want tons of people to see it. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
What?
This gets into more people's hands.
It just gets the exposure out there.
Right.
And like we partner with some charitable organizations. Like we do embroidery gatherings with a refugee group here in Salem. Salem is one of like 13 cities. I'm in Salem, Oregon. And it's one of 13 cities in the U.S. that has a refugee program where they've been resettling Ukrainians. Okay. So we're doing embroidery gatherings and giving kits to Ukrainians so that they can like, you know, basically kind of, a lot of them had to leave without taking any of their family heirlooms. And so they can be stitching and talking. And then we also work with Help Heal Vets, which is a Veterans Administration sub-organization. It's a charitable organization that puts handcraft. It uses handcraft as an occupational therapy tool for veterans suffering with mental health issues. So I'm really just about like spreading the love of embroidery because I just love it so much.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that totally comes through, and that's awesome. So, Krista, it's great to have you as a member of Craft Industry Alliance. It's great to talk to you. It'll be great to see you at H&H again in the future, and it was great to see you in person last June in Chicago. So, just thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I couldn't have done all this without Craft Industry Alliance. That's been just a game changer for me. Fabulous. So thank you.
Thank you for everybody who came today to our member spotlight, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.